Godspeed to the city streets. We began to feel the fire. We rise like tall buildings as the chemicals they take us higher. The night's young and it's just begun as she puts her hand in mine.
Well, stood by the cross here in the church at Doulting in Somerset on the Mendip Hills to look at a saint that died here. So it's quite an unusual history and an interesting one too. And the saint that we're going to talk about is Saint Oldhelm. Difficult one to say, but that's the saint that we're going to look at. And he was a true superstar of his age. And I think we'll start by looking at the holy well that's dedicated to him. And just as I walk down this lane, I can hear water running, and I can see a gap there on the left hand side, like a little shady gap in the trees. And here is the St Oldhelm's well, dedicated to St Oldhelm. And you can see there's a little plaque there saying that it's untreated spring water, and it has a later walled structure above it here, but it was the main source of water and is in fact the source of the river Sheppey, which goes on obviously to Shepton Mallet. Clues in the name there. And just peaceful here, just watching the water running down from the well. So with the well behind me here, who was St Oldhelm? Well, his father was Kenton, one of the Saxon royals. So he was of royal blood, but very well educated. Spent time in Rome reading about the Roman chronicles and everything else to do with the church, and he initiated a few miracles which are listed. One was a baby talking, which is very strange, but nonetheless. And he was well respected in the church. He was a true gentleman, and he was the Bishop of Sherborne and the Abbot of Malmesbury, helping to found Malmesbury Abbey. So he had a significant place in society, and he died whilst he was on his rounds here in Doulting. You may wonder where the word Doulting comes from, and the word Doulting probably comes from the Celtic dolad, meaning flood. So this area we've just seen is the source of the river Sheppey. Could have easily have had pools of water around it, and hence the name of Doulting. So leading just up from the well is this path here, a path of sorts. It takes us to the top of the well. If I can clamber up here. Oh. And we've got these bank sides up here, quite a picturesque spot. And this well was dedicated to St Oldhelm after his death, and he was made a saint after his death too. But look at this. So we've got the back bit of the well there, which obviously is later, but they believed that it was used for bathing in as well. So at one stage this would have had more water, and the other wall that you can see there wouldn't have been in there. It would have been more like a little house in there. And you can see the water running down here and then coming out of the area where we first got to the well. But amazing, there's something relaxing about water coming from the earth and what we actually can see. And to think that St Aldhelm, or Oldhelm as he would have been then, actually probably bathed in and drank this water. So with the well behind me here, St Aldhelm was on his rounds. He was 70 years old. He led a full life, and he was on his rounds in the parish, I suppose, drumming up business and doing what people used to do back in 709. It's a long time ago now. And obviously he had a lot of Roman information, because it wasn't long since the Romans had actually departed and left Britain. So you can see where he's coming from, and he was well respected within the church. And on his rounds, unfortunately, he felt unwell, went to the area of the church, which would have been that wooden structure we were talking about, not the present church, and died. The story doesn't end there, but I think we need to go back to the church and have a look at that. But people believe this well to be a very sacred place. So we now say goodbye to the spring and head up this lane here back towards the church. And here I am back at the church. Now back at the church, I think it shows some respect to actually have a look inside and see what we think of the church inside. It'd be nice to see, and then we'll go into the funeral procession and what actually happened there. Well, first impressions are it's quite dark in here. Lovely little area within the church. I couldn't find a light switch, of course. And going back to the darkness of the church over here. And it's a proper village church, dedicated to St Aldhelm. Lovely carvings up above. There's an angel I can see up there. And the wonderful altar just here. So what I think we'll do is go into this space here out of the traffic noise, because there's quite a lot of traffic that goes past the place, and we'll discuss what happened with the funeral procession. So when St Aldhelm died, his body was taken from here to Malmesbury, because he founded Malmesbury and he was the Bishop of Sherborne. They moved his body, the monks, and every 7 miles, although a medieval, late medieval, dark age 7 mile isn't what we know it was, his body was placed to rest until they got to Malmesbury. So quite a challenging route, but would have used old Roman roads, possibly the Fosse Way, or alternatively going towards Frome, because he founded a river crossing at Frome and a monastery there. So quite incredible that they moved the body that distance. But in addition to that, every 7 to 8 miles, we'll call it, they would erect a stone cross in his memory. So sat on the 4th step high up on this church cross, I'm going to be leaving here now. I hope you've had a wonderful time. I know I have. And that you'll tune in again sometime. Tune in, that's an old expression, isn't it? That you'll look at my channel again sometime and find an interesting place and enjoy your small adventure in history. So until the next time, thank you and goodbye.